Choosing growth that is sustainable. Growth has been marketed for years as acceleration. Do more. Learn faster. Optimize every corner of life. For a while, this narrative felt energizing. Then it quietly exhausted people. By the end of 2025, many were not lacking ambition. They were depleted by it. As 2026 unfolds, doing things right means redefining growth itself, not as relentless expansion, but as something that can be lived with. Sustainable growth begins with an honest reckoning. Not all progress feels exciting. Much of it feels repetitive, modest, even dull. Yet this is precisely the kind that lasts. In 2026, choosing growth that respects your nervous system, your time, and your humanity becomes a mark of maturity. One of the first shifts involves how goals are framed. For years, goals have been treated as endpoints, achievements that confer value once reached. This creates pressure and disappointment because life rarely unfolds in straight lines. A more workable approach in 2026 is to treat goals as directions. They guide choices, not judge worth. When goals are directional, daily actions matter more than dramatic milestones. Writing a page instead of finishing a book. Practicing a skill for 20 minutes instead of mastering it in a month. Showing up again, even after a pause. This reframes effort as participation rather than proof. Another cornerstone of sustainable growth is learning to work with energy instead of against it. Many people plan their lives as if energy were unlimited and constant. It is not. Energy fluctuates with sleep, stress, seasons, and emotional load. Doing 2026 right means noticing these patterns and adjusting expectations accordingly. Some days are suited for information is abundant, but integration is rare. Many people consume content endlessly without applying it, mistaking familiarity for progress. Sustainable growth favors fewer inputs and deeper engagement. Reading one book slowly and living its questions. Practicing one skill until it becomes embodied. This approach resists the pressure to stay constantly updated. Not every trend needs adoption. Not every insight needs immediate action. Growth deepens when knowledge is given time to settle and change behavior. Another vital element is allowing yourself to be a beginner. Adults often avoid learning because incompetence feels threatening. Yet avoiding beginnerhood freezes growth. In 2026, doing things right includes embracing awkwardness without self-judgment. Skills are not reflections of character. They are processes. When beginners are patient with themselves, they learn faster. When they rush to appear competent, they quit early. Sustainable growth depends on staying long enough for effort to compound. Rest plays a central role here, not as reward, but as requirement. Rest is often framed as something earned after productivity. In reality, rest is what makes productivity possible. In 2026, integrating rest into the structure of life becomes an act of wisdom. This does not mean constant leisure. It means deliberate pauses. Evenings that are not optimized. Weekends that contain empty space. Moments where nothing is improved or shared. These spaces allow creativity and motivation to regenerate naturally. Sustainable growth also requires letting go of comparison. Social visibility has made it easy to measure progress against curated versions of other people's lives. This comparison distorts reality and erodes satisfaction. In 2026, doing things right means returning attention to your own pace. Another subtle shift involves redefining discipline. Discipline is often portrayed as force, pushing through resistance at all costs. A more humane form of discipline listens before it acts. It distinguishes between resistance born of fear and resistance born of exhaustion. Sometimes discipline means continuing. Sometimes it means stopping. Sustainable growth depends on knowing the difference. This year also invites a reassessment of productivity culture. Productivity tools and systems promise control, yet often create pressure to perform constantly. Doing 2026 right means using structure as support, not surveillance. Systems should serve life, not dominate it. Choose tools that simplify rather than multiply obligations. Choose routines that reduce decision fatigue. Abandon those that make you feel perpetually behind. Growth in 2026 is also relational. People do not grow well in isolation. Feedback, encouragement, and shared effort matter. Choosing a few trusted relationships where growth can be witnessed, without competition, strengthens commitment. These relationships do not need to be numerous. They need to be honest. Spaces where effort is respected and setbacks are normalized create conditions for real change. Another important aspect is acknowledging seasons. Not every year is meant for expansion. Some are meant for consolidation, repair, or learning quietly. Forcing growth during restorative seasons leads to burnout. In 2026, doing things right means honoring what the current season asks. This may look like maintaining rather than advancing, like simplifying. While not everything can be controlled, making thoughtful, realistic choices around spending, saving, and commitments reduces background anxiety. This is not about austerity. It is about reducing unnecessary strains so growth does not occur under constant pressure. Finally, choosing growth that lasts means redefining success. Success in 2026 is not about doing more than everyone else. It is about doing what matters in a way you can live with, without losing yourself in the process. When growth is sustainable, it does not feel like a sprint. It feels like movement with breath. It allows setbacks without collapse and progress without panic. Over time, this approach builds trust, not just in outcomes, but in yourself. As 2026 continues, remember that growth is not something you chase. It is something you cultivate. It responds to care, patience, and consistency. When approached this way, it becomes less dramatic, more durable, and far more meaningful.